Why did you like that?
Because it was the most relevant.
Why is that the most relevant?
So it just tied things together, particularly because I grew up a Christian, so it talks about Francis Schaeffer, who's this evangelical Christian philosopher who kind of jump-started the whole evangelical right-wing movement in the United States, and he was a philosopher living in Switzerland. He just made these movies about philosophical issues. And so, like Pat Robertson, Jerry Falwell, they weren't really interested in abortion when the U.S. Supreme Court made it.
I saw that, yeah.
And then watching Francis Schaeffer's movies kind of got them, oh, maybe we should talk more about abortion. Then they kind of mobilized the whole political movement throughout much of evangelical Christianity, helped get Ronald Reagan elected, bring Republicans back to power, and then how the movement, the moral majority, eventually disbanded, and but I found it fascinating. So that was my favorite hour in the 8-hour series. What did you think?
I don't have like that much of a I don't have your Christian background, right? So like that one didn't really move me as much.
Okay.
You know, I said the thing that I found most interesting in all of that was in 6 hours they never showed one thing about Orthodox, about Frumkeit in America.
Yeah.
I think it would have been so nice for like 10 minutes to like show some yeshivas, show some of our Gedolim. How could you have a thing about Judaism in America and you don't show you don't show YU, you don't show Lubavitcher Rebbe, you don't show Reb Aaron Kotler, you don't show Rabbi Kamenetsky, you don't show Rav Moshe Feinstein or Rav Soloveitchik. How do they miss that one? How could you not talk about Chabad? I mean, oh my God, it's an American thing. It's like that's an modern Orthodoxy and Chabad are synonymous with America. You go outside of America, you know what I'm saying? They point to America. Those are American concepts. I don't know how they missed that. So Judaism, I felt, got very little.
Got 10 minutes, and it was on the rise of Reform Judaism in the 19th century.
Oh, so this is what I want to talk about with you. Let's talk about what I found most interesting. For you, having seen the roots of Reform and how they accurately depict them, that the Reform was the big fuck you to Judaism, like we're going to have a big dinner. This was in the 1800s already, right? We're going to order shrimp, and we don't care because the laws don't apply, and it was written by men, and it should never be that we should go back to these laws again. How is it that you justify your undying love for a man who is okay with that stuff?
Well, first of all, my love for him is not sexual.
I wasn't even talking about sexual.
I don't have same-sex marriage with him. I don't want to do anything against the
but
Torah.
why do you even bother following? Are you from, or are you a Christian who is taking on an extra mitzvah of, I'm going to associate with the Jews now. And, my guy is Prager, but I'm still holding on to my biblical Christianity Deos. And so it fits in with the Reform. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm not sure I even want to get it, but go ahead and tell me. Explain it to me.
Well, first of all, Prager doesn't eat shrimp or doesn't eat any of the forbidden meats. And I'm sure he's as appalled about the trade banquet as you or I are. Prager does daven in a Reform temple because the service is the shortest. He enjoys the musical instruments, and those are the two basic reasons. He doesn't like davening, like the traditional style of davening. But he doesn't subscribe to Reform Judaism any more than he subscribes to Orthodox Judaism or Conservative Judaism. There are things in all three movements that he appreciates and things that he can't stand. So you can give me any movement in Judaism and I can find you horrifying things about it. So just because there was a horrifying thing in Reform Judaism doesn't mean that you never set foot in a Reform synagogue. Like there are horrifying things that you find about me. There are some things that I have trouble with you, but I take you as a whole, and I was like, okay, I'm not I'm not responsible for everything that Rabbi Rabbs says on Torah
Okay,
Talk.
okay,
So
okay.
I take you as a whole,
That's fine.
and I appreciate the
Okay.
good in you, and
Okay, can I...
yeah.
Why do you quote him as a Torah source when you see that when it comes to Torah, he cannot distinguish between what's clearly treif and what's kosher? And that's really the definition of who you are, according to halacha, according to Judaism, according to Torah. The question when, like, choosing a Rav or choosing anybody is somebody who knows the difference between what's kosher and what's treif in every area, not just in food, right?
Yeah.
But just in every area. Here is a guy who clearly cannot distinguish between kosher and treif because he hangs out and he feels comfortable with a movement, the Reform movement, which you clearly saw during those 10 minutes of how it was depicted, right? It's the big fuck you to Judaism. That's what Reform is. It's fuck you to Judaism. Don't call it Reform Judaism. Say fuck you to Judaism. So he hangs out with the fuck you to Judaism crowd, and you're okay with that. You're okay with quoting him when it comes to Torah, even though he considers that kosher enough for him to go to.
Well, I think he's right in his ability to discern what's kosher and not kosher and all the major movements of Judaism. So he doesn't embrace Reform Judaism's ignoring of the dietary laws, but he, for instance, he likes musical instruments on Shabbat. That is what we Jews used to have in the Holy Temple. We used to have musical instruments on Shabbat. According to Prager, just because the Romans destroyed the temple, I don't see that as any reason for why we should no longer have musical instruments on Shabbat. I think Prager is absolutely right, and the tradition's wrong on that.
Okay, wait a second. Whoa! Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. That now is we're entering into Pragerism, and we've walked away from Judaism. Because Judaism has a halacha in Hilchos Shabbos that I can show it to you if you want. There's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, and it says that we're not allowed to play musical instruments on Shabbos. It's a takana. Why? Because you might come, it might break, or it might be out of tune, and you might come to fix it.
Yeah,
and
I think that's
follow
ridiculous.
Fine, you can think whatever you want, right? But that's the halacha, and that's what our Rabban... One of the 613 mitzvahs in the Torah from God is that when the rabbis come together as a whole and make takanas, they make gezeras, they make fences around the other 612 mitzvahs, we are to follow it as if it came from God.
That's why I don't play musical instruments on Shabbat. That's why I daven at an Orthodox shul. I affiliate Orthodox. I abide by the ruling. I think the ruling is nuts, but I abide by it. And I respect Prager's disagreement with the ruling. Even though I behaviorally follow the ruling, I follow the mitzvah, I daven in Orthodox synagogues, but I don't like that ruling.
Okay, fine. You can not like the ruling, but you follow it.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Right? I think I think that the idea of thinking that the rabbis from 2,000 years ago know less than you and you know more than them is antithesis of Torah thought, but that's your problem and you deal with it, right? He, on the other hand, is more than just being an Am Ha'aretz and an ignoramus. He's an ignoramus for thinking he knows more than these people. But he's gone that extra step and said, I am going to give that the big fuck you, and I'm going to go the other direction and go to the people who do play this, who do eat chazer, who do eat shrimp or whatever the hell it is, and I'm going to join the fuck you Judaism group. And you're okay with quoting his Torah. What you see is clearly dipped in treif. When you quote Dennis Prager on Torah, it doesn't matter if he's saying Dennis Prager says to keep Shabbos. It's as if you're quoting a lobster. Because that's what he is. You are what you eat. And that's what he is. He's going to a place that says lobster is kosher to eat. So my assumption is when you say that place is kosher, then you might as well eat lobster yourself.
But that place doesn't say lobster is kosher to eat. They don't serve non-kosher food there.
You saw the show. You saw them order.
That place isn't that university from 140 years ago where they have that banquet.
So you're going to tell me up there that they keep kosher?
Yes, they don't keep as strict a kosher as.
Whose hashgacha is that place up there?
I don't know, but I've never seen. There are no forbidden meats up there. When they buy their cookies and stuff, they come from kosher bakeries.